In this video, I want to introduce one of the most important elements of the course, the How to Design Functions recipe, or we call it the HTDF recipe for short. The HTDF recipe systematizes the design of a function. What I mean by that is it tells us what to do first and second and third all the way through the design of a function. So it helps us know what to do, and it also helps us be sure that we end up with a high-quality function that really does what we need it to do and that's been well tested. Now, there's a funny thing about design recipes, or design methods as they're sometimes called. It particularly affects when you learn them. What a design recipe does is it makes hard problems easier. It lets us take a big hard problem and break it down and work through it in a systematic fashion. The price we pay for that is that it actually makes easy problems more cumbersome. That's right, the HTDF recipe is going to make hard functions easier to design and easy functions a little harder to design. In fact, once you get good at designing functions, you won't use the HTDF recipe for really simple functions. But for now, we want you to use the HTDF recipe even for simple functions. That's because the way this is going to work is that you're going to use simple functions to learn the recipe, and then you're going to use the recipe to do the hard functions. So what I need to ask for now is two kinds of patience. If you've never programmed before, it's going to seem like there's a lot going on when we introduce this recipe. So I'm going to need to ask that you be patient and go through it with me at the pace we're going through, and I promise you it will become familiar. If you have programmed before, this is going to seem like overkill. We're going to start with a very simple function, and by using the recipe, it's going to take us quite a long time to do it. I need to ask you to be patient too. I promise you within a few weeks, by using the recipe, we're going to be designing much harder functions than we could design otherwise. Here's how we're going to go through this material. There's going to be this video and the next one. In the first video, I'm going to go through the design of a function step by step. And I'm going to tell you what I'm doing at each step. But I'm going to describe it as if you already knew the terminology of the design recipe. I know that sounds silly because you don't. But we've learned from teaching this to many, many students at UBC that the right thing to do first is to kind of go through it at almost normal speed. Then in the next video was going to kind of be a slow motion version of this video. In that next video, as we go through it piece by piece, I'll elaborate on each piece we're doing and why we're doing it and how it works. So what we're going to ask you to do is watch this video once at speed, then watch the next video with Dr. Racket open following along, and then it'll probably help you to watch this video again at speed. Everything we do, the entire design recipe, you can find on the course webpage under the Design Recipes link. That example that's used on the website is the one we're going to do here, so you'll be able to follow along. Again, be patient with the material and be patient with yourself. There's a lot going on in the HTDF recipe. You're not going to pick it up the first time through. You're not going to pick it all up the second time through. But you'll be going through the recipe hundreds of times through the course. And I promise you within a couple weeks it's going to seem quite familiar, and you'll just be learning more nuances about it as we go forward. Okay, now what I've done here is I downloaded the doublestarter.racket file from the HTDF module webpage, and I've opened the file up in Dr. Racket, and it's giving me a problem that we need to solve, a design problem. And what it wants us to do is design a function that consumes a number and produces twice that number. We're supposed to call the function double, and we're supposed to follow the HTDF recipe. Now, whenever I follow the HTDF recipe, I like to have a copy of the recipe right in front of me. And so what I've done here is I went to the Design Recipes tab on the course website, and then I followed the link to the How to Design Functions page. And then at the top here is a quick summary of that recipe. And I've copied that in my video editor and put it right here so we can work. So step one is the signature, purpose, and stub. So this function is going to consume a number and produce a number. and that's the signature for it. The purpose of this function is to produce 2 times the given number. And the stub is something, remember, in the next video I'll go through more detail about this, but the stub is going to look like this. It's define the name of the function, a single parameter which I'll call n, and this stub is going to produce 0, and as I said, we'll talk more about what's going on there in the next video. So there's step 1, signature, purpose, and stub. Now I'm going to do the examples. Now what I'm going to write for the examples is I'm going to write check expect, and then a call to the function double of an argument like, let's say, 3. And then I'm going to write 6, because what this is saying is that if I call double with 3, I expect to get the result 6. Now if I call double with, for example, 4.2, I expect to get 8.4. So that's my examples. I'm going to run my examples, and they're going to fail. Both tests are going to fail. Again, we'll talk more about this next time. But the fact that they even ran told me something important, which is that the examples were well formed. Now I go on to the template step. And the template for this function is going to be just define double of n, and then ... n. And the way I'm going to read that is it's going to say, you know, when I get around to coding the body of the function, n is what I have to work with. The actual parameter is what I have to work with. So there's the template. Now I have to go on to the step of coding the body. To code the body, what I do is I make myself a copy of the template. I take the old template and comment it out. And now I have to figure out, well, what is in the body of this function? What's going to make the body of this function work? And now I'm going to look at the examples. I'm going to look at the signature. I'm going to look at everything I've written before. And what I'm going to do here is actually I'm going to elaborate the second example. Just to make this more clear to myself, I'm going to say, look, the reason it was 8.4 is that it was really 2 times 4.2. And now I have my aha moment. I understand what the function's supposed to do. It's times 2 of n. I run it. Both tests pass. Fantastic. I have the sense of my function's working. So that's a first pass through the HTDF design recipe. Again, I certainly don't expect you to have fully absorbed the HTDF recipe from that quick pass through it. What I want you to do now is go to the next video, which is going to be the slow motion version of this video, in which I'll talk about the different parts of the recipe in more detail.